Chinese army continued to move additional troops and tanks into Beijing today, the United States Embassy recommended that all American citizens leave the Chinese capital as soon as possible.
I was most shocked when I watched the video of Tiananmen massacre. In my 13 years of experience in China, I'd never really seen Chinese people willing to risk their lives for other people. But on that day, they were rescuing the students with bullets flying around them.
Every 10 years or so, the party starts a persecution of a minority, and mainly, I think, to instill fear in the general population. Consider just 3 of the persecution campaigns that have gone on since 1950. The so-called Great Leap Forward, where an estimated 40 million people starved to death. The Cultural Revolution, which you all know, I'm sure, of 1966 to 76, saw perhaps another 2 million killed. The Tiananmen Square massacre of 1989, where soldiers killed thousands of people who were seeking openness and democracy.
What the Communist Party does about Tiananmen and about all of its violence beginning in 1949 against landlords, then the anti-rightist movement in the late 50s, then the starvation of 59-61, then the counter-revolution, they obscure and lie about what happened, and that's what they're doing about Tiananmen. Well, the Chinese government said no shots were fired, no one was killed almost immediately afterwards. And the story then became that what they referred to as criminal elements and counter-revolutionaries attacked the police and the army and killed numbers of policemen and numbers of soldiers. So that if any shots were fired at all, they were purely for the defense of the people who were being attacked by the counter-revolutionary elements. It's a complete lie.
They made you disabled to think yourself. My whole body just become a robot, just performed to do what I have been programmed to do. So anybody, if they label it themselves other than communism, Communist Party or member, then they will be treated as an enemy of the state. Therefore, they are not even qualified as human beings. And therefore, they are subject to whatever punishment is available.
The Communist Party is always making up these enemies, but it doesn't just say, designate somebody or some group as an enemy. They start these propaganda campaigns, and that was certainly true with Falun Gong, which depersonalizes, dehumanizes, marginalizes these people to the point where the few people who actually see and know what's going on, they'll say, well, Falun Gong are enemies, Falun Gong are not people, we can do whatever we want with them, and the pressure of the party if you break away from them. So this combination, this confluence of events leads to this awful result.
When I talk to my father's generation these days, I can still feel the fear, the trauma that they experienced. Cultural Revolution is a big tragedy in Chinese history. Communist Party aimed to destroy Chinese traditional culture. What they destroyed was basic human nature, was the way that our society was formed, the foundation of our society, the kindness between people. And My father's generation grew up in the midst of Cultural Revolution, and they watched their families and friends being picked out, publicly humiliated, and that's always been there in their mind. And as a result, Chinese people have learned to put their head down and not speak their mind.
Well, in my book, I really argue that amnesia is not just something that's imposed from the top down. It's something that people have really cooperated in. They've been co-opted into this silence, and people have done that because they feel that there are very major costs to remembering June the 4th. And as they grow older, they want to protect their families, and they want to be sure that their children can survive and thrive. So even people who were involved in the protests, they will often not tell their children what happened. People who were injured sometimes in the protests will make up stories to hide the truth from their children, because the cost of memory is now perceived to be so great that nobody wants to do it.
I was born in China. When I was there, I believed everything I was taught. And then I moved to Canada. And I was given the rarest gift, a chance to reconstruct my outlook on the world. I wanted to find out what had been hidden from me, so I searched for all the terms that was deemed sensitive terms by our school teachers in China. I watched videos of the brutal persecution of Tiananmen massacre in 1989. This is an event that has been almost erased from the memories of Chinese citizens' mind. I also learned about the persecution of Falun Gong. In the late 1990s, 70 to 100 million Chinese people were practicing this peaceful meditation practice of the Buddha school.
And the party at this point took ideological fright and became jealous of the popularity of a movement which was rooted in ancient Chinese traditions, spiritual, totally different from the Communist Party, which was atheist. And the party banned it in '99 out of this jealousy and fear, and has since propagandized against it.
Even within this quite straightforward resolution, there are still problems, because the absolute deluge of propaganda from the regime in Beijing vilifying Falun Gong as some sort of extremist cult. Now, I've met, as I said, hundreds of members of Falun Gong. It is not a sect, it is not a cult, there is no money involved, there is no brainwashing. All the normal characteristics of a cult simply don't exist.
After learning all this, I realized that I've been lied to all my life. It's a profound embarrassment to learn that your entire belief system was based on a huge lie.
A huge shady and immoral business of organ selling to foreigners has developed in China.
Systematic, state-sanctioned organ harvesting from non-consenting prisoners of conscience,
especially from Falun Gong prisoners of conscience,
is happening today in front of our eyes, is absolutely unacceptable and should be ended immediately.
This is for believing in truth, compassion, forbearance. It's just impossible for for me to understand, and I think for most people to understand, how any regime on earth could treat its people this way.
The issue is not so much why are they doing that or how are they doing it, is why we outside are not reacting to this better or differently. And I think the reason is there's a lot of willful blindness, that people make money, they've got personal or company or government reasons for wanting to do business with China, and so they just ignore this because it's more convenient.
This is the moment where we have to take stock of what we can accept, we as a people can accept doing. What can we be involved with? How culpable can we be? In China, the kidney in the bathtub story is not only real, it is state-sponsored. It is run by the Chinese government.
The Falun Gong are to the Chinese regime of today what the Jews were to the Nazis during the war. And we should all take note of this and look at China with new eyes.
In Germany, it is illegal to deny that there was a Holocaust, and children are taught accurately in Germany about what happened. So there are other ways, but the German government confronts this. China, I don't want to say China, the party in China cannot face it, and they don't want to hear about it.
In power is a group of mass killers. This is the party history, a history of mass murder with the murderers still in power. So it just continues unless something is done to stop it. One of the ways it's changed is it's become a lot more global. It projects its persecution around the world. I mean, there's lots of persecutory regimes, but China is almost unique in the sense that its persecution spreads everywhere.
I think it will be seen as a time when a lot of people recognize that this isn't just something for Chinese people in China, that this is a global issue. There's something going on here that concerns people of every race and every nationality.